Okay, someone that owns a vintage Volkswagen came up to me and said, gee, my radio, first he thought it was the amplifier he had hooked to this, but it ended up, like I said, no, it's the radio. It seems it's making a crackling, staticky noise and no longer operates. It's a Becker Europa. Model MO812. These are used in Porsches, Mercedes, and European cars if they like. It is a German radio, and they've been around for some time. Upon first investigation here, I noticed the main problem was the radio was wet. There was a piece of sponge here that I've replaced. Underneath here, there was a piece of the cushioning here, but it had all since dry rotted, and it was like a sponge of water. So I've gone ahead and replaced that, and I cleaned up some of the well, it wasn't really damaged, but cleaned up this area here where it was oxidized. So what are we going to do? One thing I noticed, there's no solder connections, no defects in this area. I did want to check out the amplifier over here. There's a couple of RCA transistors. Vintage capacitors, which I'm not going to touch. I'm hoping this radio will just work now as it's dried out and the contaminants have been removed. But I'll give you a little look around the radio. Teeny tiny European IF cans there. Our antenna input. This here and our slugs for the station, and this appears to be the amplifier section. But I did notice one thing on the bottom of those transistors. I could see with my naked eye is this area right here. Where's my pointer? Is this output here? These are cracked. There's two cracked solder connections right there. Let me zoom in. I guess we just don't have the ability to zoom in that close, but it's these two right here. Where are these two right here? There's one. And the other is right there. And that right there, and that right there. We'll touch them up with the soldering iron here. Again, this one right here, and this one right here. So that's been a problem for a while. Okay, I would like to replace a few of those capacitors there, but for now, if it's not broken, I'm not going to fix it. But for testing, I think I'm going to use the Hitachi rod antenna. Vintage. It was new old stock I picked up somewhere, and basically a collapsible, retractable antenna. It comes with a key. Keys there, and a little tire here that you use to pop it up. So you can use this on your car and put it down when you're not using it for the car wash or whatever, and you don't have to use the tire to do the spring load action. I'll demonstrate. Let me. You take your tire on your keychain and you push down on it like that, and that one hand that releases the rod so you can get it out. That's the Hitachi rod antenna. And it's Free Coffee Friday here at Cumberland Farms. So this one goes out to old 64 goat here. It'll go. Oh, slurpage for you there. Okay. Have our power supply ready momentarily. Let's get a speaker and see what the Becker does. Okay. Draw about 0.2 amps. Okay. Some of these radios, let me get some focus here. Some of these radios have a red light for the stereo. I don't see it on this one. I'm just glad that it's playing. Okay, the radio does play, however, the output from the detector is clean, but when you play it through the speaker with the volume down, you still have some crackling like this. Which is not supposed to be there. So I've got to try to trace out this board, and I have no schematic diagram. I cannot find one on this model. So I'm just going to probe through these transistors here, those being the outputs. Try and find what's noisy here. I don't think it's a capacitor. It sounds like one of these transistors is noisy, and I'm going to have to try to isolate which one. Okay, over here we have the output from the detector, and the amplifier is working. I didn't notice this DIN connector has a pass-through plug, so you have to have it attached to pass the signal through to the amplifier. Well, that's good in a way because, as I said, the audio is clear coming out of the radio. Where it's not clear is the amplifier. You can hear just enough to be annoying. I can plug in the DIN connector here.
Huge dolls throughout the store on brands like LG and Samsung. Plus get.
But when it's down low, there's just a hint of static. So I'm gonna have to go through here and find out where the offending.
Your RVing adventure begins at Campers Inn, the East Coast's largest RV.
But I have to do it with the transistor, with the speaker attached, and just go through, see if I can locate. I could get the scope out for this too, I suppose, but just want to see where the, and no schematic either, just find out which transistor is creating the noise. Okay, the first transistor we're going for is this BC319 NPN, and after probing around with the sound, I didn't have the static. I believe it's hard to see on this board, but I didn't have the static on the emitter. On the collector of this one. On the emitter, I did not have the static. So we're going to take this little guy out here, and it does get loud all the way up to the output. So it's early on in the this one right here. And there's our transistor removed there, and it did have one leg break off. I wasn't too hard on it, but there it is. EBC, the emitter leg, was just hanging on by a thread, it seemed. Maybe that was the issue. We'll see. Okay, for sake of nothing else, I just grab what I've usually done. A 2N3904 is also an NPN transistor, and I've used those small signal transistors just about everywhere. We tacked them in over here. Our amplifier is on.
Certainly slides.
And it's dead quiet with the volume down, so that's good. I'm glad it's not a Pioneer riddled with preamplifier transistors. It's just 3 little transistors and 2 outputs in a row, and I went for the first one, and I think I nailed it here. Couldn't send it back to the customer with it crackling at no volume like that. But.
That was a real quick.
Okay. AM. This is not a stereo radio, that's why it does not have the red light. I was getting AM earlier, so... Of course, the computer wasn't on either. Turn some of these lights off. That's our speaker lead there. Well, that's okay. It's not, I'm not. This antenna may not. It's not even up, and it's probably not trimmed for this anyway.
This is out by now.
Okay, AM.
Now, I'm not a total buyer of the whole trickle down. That when the rich have so much money falling out of the...
And FM.
Wiper blades with a blade change indicator.
Alright. Alright. And call that a wrap for the Becker Europa. I'll button this back up and put it back together.
Equity lines of credit. The more you bank with us, the more you'll get back. We're a credit union, doing what's right for you. Visit Workers C.
Radio picks up distant stations pretty good. I may or may not substitute that transistor with a different one, but just for fun, but there is no more noise in that audio. We may just leave it, but we'll call that the fix for the Becker Europa MU, the Europa MU from, I don't see a date code here anywhere, but sometime in the 60s. It couldn't be 60s. It has silicon, so I'm gonna say maybe 70s.
They use up to 81% less energy than incandescent bulbs, and they were rated #1 by a leading consumer magazine. Wasting energy. You're just like so hard to get.
Well, I was looking to tap the resources of that realistic equalizer we've gotten so many transistors from. I can't locate that, so I decided to go for the Magnavox clock radio and these transistors right here, which is a 9042. What is this thing? 901. The 9014. I think it has a little more gain, and it's more suited for the audio amplifier. So that's right here, and we're gonna stick that in here, and I may go and replace some capacitors in here just while we're in here. Okay, no sound no crackling in the speaker, but I have to admit that I think it actually sounds a little better with this transistor. It has a little more gain than the other transistor, I think. Oh, these speaker connections, I'm telling you. I should have taken the German plug when it was offered to me.
Who's that lounging in my chair? Just rain. The more I come, the more I try. Oh, please, parent. I'm thinking. Goodbye, window.
If I'm in a party and
Unknown around the world.
I want peace. Everybody needs a place.
who can not only spot the similarity,
Feel good music. And dance. Nice. Hello.
I think it sounds better with this transistor in there. Okay.
tell me I'm not the kind of girl who gives up cause like that.
I may go in and replace the couple of those capacitors there. I don't know. If it's not broken, don't fix it. I may just leave it. That's what I'm deciding on. Do I change the capacitors? 100 at 16. Don't know if they're not faulty. Decisions. No, I've decided if it sounds good with that transistor, the audio transistor. And I'm going to just, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I think the owner will be happy with it like this. From the crackling, there's no crackling. Dead quiet with the volume down. The crackling, he has an amplifier on this and it was quite annoying. Amplified crackle, so with the volume down, it's dead quiet. Thanks for watching. That'll do it now for the Becker Europa radio. Thanks for watching.